All right. Hey everybody, welcome. Okay, Chad. You guys are here ready for Dre tonight. I'm not mad at that. Welcome. Dre is going to be joining us in just a second. Of course, I'm your host, Crystal Jordan, and this is Reality Check for Rolling Out. Or if you are watching on YouTube, this is from Crystal XO. And we are getting into it. These are the last few interviews from Ready to Love, and I'm super excited about tonight's guest. Andre, I gotta tell you guys, he has been super charming so far. So I have no doubt that this interview is gonna be amazing. Hey, Tisha, thank you so much for that XO. If you guys, of course, you guys know what this is. You can hear me clearly. Make sure that you drop that XO in the chat. Like I said, Dre is going to be joining me in just a second. Also, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. You guys know I am not the best YouTuber at putting that out all the time because I just like to get into the interviews, but these interviews happen because you guys support it. And so if you guys could make sure that before we even get into all this, that you could go ahead and like and subscribe if you haven't, and make sure that you share this broadcast. Like I said, the man of the hour is joining us, and so far, he has been extremely charming, and I'm excited about tonight's conversation. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Dre on. Hello.
Hello there.
How are you, Dre?
I'm doing great. Never better. How about you?
I am great. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for joining. Um, I usually have assistants with some of these, but after the reunion, I just have to kind of see who wants to join, and I definitely wanted to talk to you, so I reached out, and you were gracious enough to join me, and so I thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I do. Before we get into this conversation with Dre, I know some of you guys saw that we were supposed to talk to Mercedes yesterday. We actually had to reschedule her interview for I believe it's going to be Thursday. And child, we got Morgan here on Tuesday. So please make sure that you tune in. I think we have a couple more in there. We do have Morgan on Tuesday. And we're gonna reschedule Mercedes because we had a miscommunication with the dates. So with that being said, again, we have Dre. And Dre, I gotta say, the ladies were in here waiting on you. So
Sorry to keep you all waiting, ladies. I'm sorry. You know what they say, better late than never, right?
better late than never. But I saw we were going back and forth, and you mentioned you were going to a wedding this weekend. So how was the wedding? How was that? Did you catch the garter,
Yeah,
Dre?
well, I changed my mind. I ended up getting. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. No, I actually watched everyone else participate. I was just like in the background, you know. I
So
was
you
a
didn't even
secret.
try to go. You didn't even
No,
try.
no. I leave that for next time.
Well, before we get into Ready to Love, let's talk a little bit about Dre. Are you someone that aspires? Is marriage like something that you want to end up doing? Is that like a goal down the line, or where do you look at um how do you look at marriage and how that in relation to your own personal life? Like what is your theories on if that's something that you want a relationship to mature to eventually?
Yeah, so growing up, I always thought that marriage was one of the most important decisions I would make in my life,
Mhm.
and that's one of the reasons why I'm not married right now. Not to find an excuse, but I take it so sacred because my principles are closely associated with the principles of the bond of bond between men, women, and God. So I'm a Christian, by the way. So I value that really highly, and I've taken a lot of time to make sure that my decision will be right. So for me, marriage is really important. A marriage is a must. Just it's a matter of the right person, the person who is blessed to be my wife. So yeah, definitely is super important to me, and that's why I've taken a lot of time to make sure I don't rush into it because I don't believe in getting married and getting divorced. Once I get married, I don't intend on getting divorced, so
Mhm.
I want to make sure that decision is properly made.
Okay.
So yeah, super important to me.
I like that. I like that answer. Have you ever been close before? Have you ever dated someone? Not talking about Ready to Love, but before that, have you ever met a woman and been in a relationship and been actually entertaining or kind of going back and forth with yourself about the possibility of proposing?
Yeah, so you're not referring to a biblical husband, right?
No, but we are gonna get into the biblical.
That was a joke. That was a joke. I had a crack eye. Well, it has happened. I've been in situations before where because I've been in quite a few serious relationships.
Okay.
Not too many, but I'll say quite a few. And it has gotten to a stage where it was really close, but I've never proposed to anyone.
Okay.
So that person who I proposed to will be a very special person. So
Okay.
that's the closest I've gotten as far as discussing it, but no proposal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm getting a lot of questions that have nothing to do with the show, but I'm going to get these out the way. I've heard, how tall are you, Dre?
You know, stand out.
I mean, yeah, because we want to see if you have a shirt on. Okay, he does have a shirt
I
on,
mean,
ladies.
you can't see me if I
How
stand
tall,
out.
are you going
I
to
do, I
share?
do, I do, I do, I do, I do.
Are you going to
I'm
share
six
your
foot
height?
three, but
You're 6'3".
yeah,
Don't y'all
six foot
act
three.
crazy in these comments tonight. You hear me? Don't y'all act crazy. He is 6'3". He does have a shirt on, but we can see what is hitting on. Now, don't. It's enough, ladies.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be flashing y'all like that, but I'm a kind of guy I like to be, free.
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
Close one,
I'm
close
gonna do
one.
one more and then y'all are gonna have to slow down in the comments. What is your zodiac sign?
I'm a Capricorn.
Okay. What day is your birthday?
January 7th.
Oh wow. So you are really okay. That's a
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Right in the dead in the center. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. All right. Okay. So let's get to Ready to Love. And you mentioned biblical husband. So when I heard you say that you do have a spiritual side,
Yes.
what in the world, where did that come from? the biblical husband. Did you know where that came from when
Well,
Jeffrey said that at the when you guys were at the final, and you said that you chose her
yes,
and she chose you, and
yes.
then she mentioned the biblical husband. I, as a viewer, was thrown off. I was like, "What? What does that mean? What is?
I
Did you know
mean,
what that meant?"
at the moment I didn't, but after understanding, or after speaking to her a little bit more, I did get a better understanding of what a biblical husband is.
Share it
Jeffrey and
with us.
I. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I said, can you share that with us?
Um, yeah, before I share that, I just want to tell you a little bit. So Jeffrey and I had a unique connection during the process. So with that being said, we shared a lot of different things. We shared a lot of things in common as far as our religious belief, our spiritual
Okay.
walk, and that's where the biblical husband, from a spiritual. Of course, as a Christian, biblical husband, it doesn't mean an actual husband, but a husband with potential, a husband who shares, a person with potential who shares all the similar values with you. So, not like a future husband, you say that.
Okay, okay. So a future husband that has all the things that I want as far as putting God first, and he's a
Yeah,
Christian, right?
that's correct.
Okay. All right. So let's talk before I would definitely want to get into the connection with Jeffrey. You had a few connections over the season. And probably I don't even know if we saw all of them. So we saw initially Mercedes, and then that one didn't really pan, it didn't make it through you getting sick, right?
That's
And then also we saw one with Cynthia, and then of course Jeffrey. Were there any other connections that we didn't get a chance to see on the show that were edited out?
No, I think those were my main connections. I was very intentional as far as the woman that I had interest in. There are a lot of beautiful women there, a lot of women with great qualities, but I actually horned in on those three connections. Which is initially it was Mercedes in the beginning, just before Mark Anthony arrived, and then after he came, and after I left from COVID, all
Yeah.
of that ended. So it just narrowed down to two connections, which was Cynthia and Jeffrey.
Okay. Let's talk about what it was about those three that stood out to you. Because I always ask men and women, like when you first come in, men a little bit more because I think you guys are more visual than women are, right? So, what was it
Typically,
about those three women? Because they're all they look very different. Their personalities were very different. So, what was it about each woman that you were attracted to initially? We can start with Mercedes.
yeah. So all these three women, possess unique qualities. Well, to start with Mercedes, Mercedes is a very bubbly kind of, jovial and free spirited kind of, individual. So for me, we connected on that, level where we crack jokes on each other, and it was just that kind of energy. So we had that kind of energy and communication. So we could talk for hours about
Okay.
anything and nothing. So that's how we connected. Of course, Mercedes, of course, is a beautiful young lady. But I didn't think that we had enough time because, you know, it was a short period of time that we had few communications. And then after that, then I got sick for COVID. So it was a short period of time. So
Yeah.
that's all I can say about her. She's a wonderful lady. Just awesome. That's all I can say. So as far as Cynthia and Jeffrey,
Hmm.
I think those were the more difficult, decisions that I had to make. So Cynthia, to start with Cynthia. Cynthia is, of course, a strong woman. She possesses very unique qualities as far as, she's very articulate.
Hmm.
We just, of course, first and foremost, she's very attractive.
Hmm.
So I was attracted to her initially on a shallow level because I didn't know her when I saw her. When I saw her, I was
Right.
like, wow, she looks amazing.
Yeah.
And after that, I got to know a little bit. I started finding out more about her intellectual side.
Hmm.
I also found out more that she's super emotional,
Hmm.
and she's a strong woman as well. So we just connected on a lot of level. What was different for Cynthia and I was that Cynthia got to see the real me when a lot of the other, women or my connections didn't really get to see the real me because we spent a lot of time talking about deep, deep issues, and just things about our lives, our upbringing, and we connected on a different level. So that's what was special between me and Cynthia. As far as Jeffrey now, as I said, it was more for a spiritual connection. We shared very similar beliefs and ideologies, and just, of course, Jeffrey's a beautiful young lady as well. So it's just they're all beautiful, they're all awesome women, and it was just super hard for me.
Yeah. So well, we feel very sorry for you, Andre. We feel very sorry. We have a lot of empathy for you.
Sorry for myself.
Um, let's go back to Mercedes because when you left with COVID, did you at the time you left, did you think that your journey was over, or did you know that you would be able to come back?
Um, it was a 50-50. I knew I had like really strong connections before I left. So, and I knew everyone liked me, including the guys, I was cool with them. I
Mhm.
had no issues. The producers and everyone were all cool. I didn't know the rules of the show. So, I didn't really know what was going to happen, but I knew that my connection I thought it was strong enough with Mercedes.
Mhm.
But for the initial moment that I got a chance to meet Cynthia, and of course Jeffrey, so I felt like I had a good chance of coming back.
Okay. Okay. So you voiced being a little bit disappointed that Mercedes did not reach out to you during the time that you were out. I'm assuming that means that did the other ladies reach out, or had you made those connections then? Because it seemed like you really she apologized, but it seemed like that really bothered you that she didn't reach out. Is that true to form, or was that you think they kind of made that bigger than it was?
Um, you know, when I contracted COVID, it was for real. I had COVID. A lot of people didn't believe that I did. Maybe some of the cast members didn't really think it was that serious. It might have not even been that serious. But the fact that I had a connection with Mercedes at that point, I was under the impression that I at least mattered a little for her to at least check on me. I wasn't expecting her to call me and say, "Hey, baby, how you doing? Hey, I love you." No, I just wanted a little check in, and I didn't receive that because one of the reasons why I was so disappointed was I compared the other cast members who reached out to me, even the ones I didn't have connection with, and just out of care, they reached out to me, and I was like, wow, okay, what about my connection? At that point, Mercedes was my connection, so
Yeah.
it was quite disappointing for me. I wasn't mad; I was just a little disappointed. I said.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I could definitely understand that. And COVID is still very serious. I know that we don't think about it that way, but it's still very serious. Let's go back a little bit more to why you joined the show. First of all, where are you from, Dre? Where's your accent hailing from?
Bop, bop, bop. I'm from Jamaica. Let's go.
Oh, and see,
so,
I did not
so
know. I thought it was your accents, but I obviously don't. Because I was like, I don't think it's Jamaican accent. I was thinking it was another one of the islands, but
no.
Jamaican. Okay, okay, okay.
So this is the thing. Like my dad part of the family is from England. So my dad, my aunt, my uncle, everyone's from England, right?
Okay.
And my mom's side of the family is from Jamaica. So put it together, I'm always around them, so I get that kind of, you know,
Yeah.
um, it's just like that kind of. Sometimes I break out. Hey, I'm British. Like start talking a little bit of the British lingo, but that's where I'm from, Jamaica.
Okay, but that makes sense because it sounds like you have a mixture of those two accents. Because
Yes.
I can hear the English as well. Okay, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Okay, so I've been asking some of the guys specifically, did they sign up for the show? Did you know about Ready to Love? Were you a fan? How did you end up on this show?
Good question. So I received a text from a number, and it said something about the Oprah Winfrey show, And I was like, it's a scam. But then I'm like, you know what? Let me just look into it a little bit more. And I read the text, and it sounded a little bit. It sounded like it was valid.
Hmm.
So after finding out, I asked them, "Hey, how did you hear about me?" They wouldn't tell me exactly how they heard about me. I never signed up for the show. I never knew about the show. Never even heard about the show until when at that moment when I was contacted. But come to find out, someone in New York, because I have a company in New York as well. Someone in New York referred me as a good, a good
That's it.
individual that'd be best fit for the show. So
Okay.
that's how it all happened, and I
Okay.
just go with it.
Were you single at the time or were you dating, Dre?
I was in a situation.
You were in a situationship. Okay.
Yeah, I was, and I was honest with them. I said,
Yeah.
you know what, I wasn't in a relationship at that point, but I was seeing people. I was dating, and they were okay with it. But it wasn't anything serious. It's just I was just dating.
Okay. So you were also when you told the people that you were dating that you were going on this show, what was their response?
They didn't really have much of a response because I automatically understood, the nature of the show. So I knew that at that point, if I was in a serious relationship, I wouldn't have, accepted
Yeah.
to be on the show. So it went without saying. They didn't have to tell me anything. I just figured it out. Like, hey, if I'm in a relationship, I'm not going to be on the show, and it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So it worked out good because it was just fine.
So you were dating, um, minding your own business. You get this text to come be on this show with, and the thing about this show that is a little bit, I think, misleading sometimes is some people come on this show looking to leave with a husband. Other people come on the show just for something to do. Some people come on the show just to meet some pretty women. And some people come on the show with the intent to knock as many down as they can. And I think you have all those different intentions, men and women, and it becomes like it's almost like an unfair playing ground, right? Because I think there are some women that really, really want a relationship, some women that want to make their profile bigger. But it seems like most of the guys, at least the guys that I've talked to, have all been casted. So it's kind of like we're looking at you guys like, oh, he's not serious. And you're like, I was just out here chilling and I got a text. I wasn't looking for a wife. I wasn't trying to, So what was your intention when you decided, okay, I'm going to do this? Were you thinking I'm seriously open to a relationship, or this is something that I'm just doing because I kind of have male model vibes and this feels right? I mean, what what was your intent when you accepted the opportunity to come on the show?
So before I accepted it, I did a little research on it just to find out more about the show. Did a little recap to see, the previous seasons to see who was on and what they were doing, what it was all about.
Mhm,
And what I understood was it was a handpick of, successful, entrepreneur-minded, men and women in the Miami area. And
mhm,
I guess that's what they were more focused on as far as casting, more
mhm.
than just finding single individuals. So to find a niche of successful man and woman, single man and woman within that age range is kind of difficult. So
Yeah.
I didn't fault them for reaching out to individuals. For me, um, I felt like it was an opportunity for me to try something different. I've been dating in the same form of dating pool for quite a while, and I'm like, you know what? Let me. First, I was a little apprehensive, I was a little
Mhm.
hesitant. I was like, I'm not sure if I want to be on a dating show because I do have a profile, and all my clients and everyone is going to see me on TV. Like, yo, Dre, that's not a Dre I know. He never had a problem with finding a woman, so for me it was different, and I did it for me personally. So um, I think it was a unique opportunity, and I went for it.
Okay. Okay. Were you open to potentially being in a serious relationship?
Absolutely, absolutely. So my intention was not for for the 15 minutes of fame or whatever. I've been, I have a profile. I'm a public figure. So that wasn't my intention. For me, it was more like, as I said, I really wanted to see or try something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I was definitely open. If I did find someone, it would only make sense if I'm on this process, even if I wasn't doing it for in a serious level. But if I did find someone who was qualified, why wouldn't I take that risk?
True.
I was totally open to find out what happens, and if I did connect with someone on that level where it translated into something serious or into whatever it was, I was open to it.
Yeah. Okay. You said you did a little bit of research and watched some of the past shows just to kind of figure out what you were going to be getting into. Is there anyone on a previous episode or previous season that you thought, man, I wish I could meet her?
I rather plead the fifth on that one.
Why, Dre? We need to know. We may be able to hook you up.
I mean, there are quite a few beautiful ladies, on the previous season. I'm pretty bad with names, but there's this one. I think she was on season 5.
Okay.
She was short. I forgot Kendall, or I don't remember her name, Candy or Kendall or something like that.
What did
Don't
she
remember
do?
her
Was she an airline stewardess?
name. No, she was a professional. Don't remember what field she was in, but she
Okay.
was short. She was short and she was fair skinned. That's all I remember. I thought she was cute. I thought she was pretty intelligent, but as I said, I kind of skimmed through the season because there was like 6 seasons prior to us, so I just skimmed through to see what it was about. But
Okay.
yeah, all these women were beautiful. But
Okay.
there are a couple others I would rather not say. I'm just gonna leave it right there. I think they know who they are, and
Oh, so
that's
you
in the past, anyways.
okay. All right. Okay. All right. So let's get back to this season. So you have the initial connection with Mercedes, and then you kind of were like between Jeffrey and Cynthia, it seemed like all the way up to the very end, almost. Both of everybody was trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
I one episode I'd be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be he and Cynthia. The next
yeah.
one I'd be like, it's gonna be he and Jeffrey. I don't know. I didn't really know what was going on. I think when you guys left and there was a scene with you and Jeffrey in the hot tub, I was like, it's gonna be he and Jeffrey.
Kind of sealed it off, right?
Yeah, I kind of felt that way, but it was very interesting that when you guys had the dates with your family and you had a chance to for the women to meet your family, and then when you even met their exes, um, it didn't really seem that you and Jeffrey would were the ones that people your sisters were in support of, and then when you met Cynthia's ex, that was a little rough. Let's talk a little bit about that because I was just like, I don't think there has ever been a episode of Ready to Love where an ex pissed off a new date.
It had to be me. It had to be me.
It had to be you. What were you thinking? Because I that was the audience was like, what is this dude doing? Like, what is going on? Is he doing extra for the camera? What were you thinking during that date with Cynthia and her ex?
So, one thing I always remember while during in the process is that I have a brand to protect. So, I always consider that in the back of my head, like, hey, Andre, whatever happens, just always remember that you have a brand. You are a brand.
Mhm.
So that was one of my main, consideration going through that particular date because I knew it was going to be your ex. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and for some reason, I felt like I was picked on a little bit more
Mm.
for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's an ego thing. I have a big ego. Of course, I'm assertive. Of course, Anthony is assertive as well. But I just carry a different thing about me. Um, and
Do
I
you
felt
think you started it? Do you think you started the going back and forth? But did you call him T
I
Pain?
don't know what you heard. I know you heard something.
Did you call him T Pain and then
You see, people always gonna protect themselves first, right? All right, all right. Yeah, it wasn't intentional. It was just like automatic. When I saw him, I'm like, wow, he kind of looks like T Pain. And then I have a sarcastic way about me at times. So I was like, oh, T Pain is in the building. and go. I think that kind of rubbed him the wrong way, and from there it just kind of went downhill, you know.
Yeah.
And then he said he called the guy with the shag, and I didn't hear when he said that until I actually watched the actual episode and I saw
Yeah.
it. But I guess we all were having name calls, you know, because it's just back and forth.
Yeah. What is you seem like you were kind of insulted that he with his behavior, and you mentioned that you were in Forbes. Did you feel like he was attacking your professionalism?
No, I was just a little perturbed by the questions. You know, it was like repetitive questions. Questions were just really redundant. Like, I mean, like, hey, so what about if you're in a relationship? I'm like, I think we're here for to find out about Cynthia as well. So
Yeah.
after a couple questions, I was okay with a few questions, but he kept jabbing, and he was just jabbing. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna tell you who I am so you can understand. I'm not that guy off the street. I'm not that guy, you know, who is just a, you know, whatever it is you're thinking, I'm not. So I'm gonna give you my credentials so you can know I'm a reputable person. You know, you can trust me around your family. I'm not, you know, because Cynthia, he doesn't own Cynthia, of course, but he has kids with her. So
Mhm.
of course, I'm going to be speaking on behalf of the kids. Like, hey, I'm a person that you can have around your kids. They didn't really show that part.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of edited it to how they wanted it to be portrayed. You know, which is that was mostly drama.
Yeah.
You know, there are a couple of scenes in there when I ask him about Cynthia, like, hey, so why aren't you with her? Like, you
Mhm.
know, why didn't you marry her?
Question. Yeah.
Too. So it just made it seem like he was attacking me and I wasn't defending myself. But
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I'm done with this because it's going nowhere. Like, it's a constant, you know, churn. So I'm like, all right, you know, I'm out. And that's when I said, hey, I'm out, man.
Yeah.
And you know,
What did he answer your question? That's an interesting question to ask someone's child's father or ex why they aren't with them, especially if they're so protective of them and they're a big part of their life. What did he respond?
well, I only asked him that question because he was asking me so many questions. So I'm
Yeah,
like, all
but that's
right,
a good question though.
yeah. So when I asked him that, you know, he kind of choked up a little. He wasn't expecting that. Like he was
Yeah.
like, and honestly, I don't remember it. I don't think he gave me an answer. I think it was more like, hey, it was about you. Like, hey, I'm asking you questions. You
Yeah.
know, I'm like, hey, this is not what it's about. You know, I'm here to find out about this woman who I'm interested in, and of
Hmm.
course, you're here to find out a person that could potentially be in your kids' lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about taking on children. Because I will be honest with you. I have a brother, right? I have a little brother. I call a baby brother, even though he's only 3 years younger than me, so he's not a baby. But my brother doesn't have children, and so I am. Even though I want him to find an amazing woman, the idea of being with someone that has children, if he doesn't have them already, I wanted him to be prepared for that, right? I didn't, and I remember when he was younger, there were girls that had children that were interested in him, and I would tell him, you don't have to take that on if you don't want to, right? That's just me being a good big sister saying, this is because I have children. I was divorced with children, even though I think it's amazing that some men are ready for that. It is a huge responsibility, especially when the children are young and you're dating, right? And you guys are looking to possibly be together. That means that you have to pretty much come into that situation ready to be a stepfather. And I think you have to be honest. TV doesn't like us to be honest because TV wants everybody to say everything is fine. But I'm just saying, as a sister, I was feeling our sisters like asking questions. And I want to make sure now, if my brother was absolutely in love and I thought the woman was 100% healthy over her children's father and the children understood and that's different. But I, as a sister, would be, even as a friend, am very protective, right? So, your sisters at the table with Jeffrey and Cynthia was very interesting. And first, I want to ask you, what do they think of you taking on being a with a woman that has children? Period, regardless of who it is.
You know, so my sister and my niece was there. Like, you know, I've actually had a lot of, you know, experience with, you know, women with children. Like, if quite a few of my relationships has
Okay.
been with women with children. So it wasn't anything foreign to me, but I don't think I've never been in a relationship with a woman with 3 kids.
Hmm.
So that was a little bit over the top for my sister and my niece, because they weren't, familiar with me being in that kind of relationship. It's usually like one child or a young child and a child that's a little older. So they were just a little concerned because, I have actually, I think the reason why they were concerned is because, as I say, I do have a brand, and in this age, this time and age, there's a lot of opportunists out there, and they're just protecting me. They want to make sure that the woman. It's not that they're against women with kids, is that they're against the wrong woman with kids that come for wrong intention or for the wrong reason.
Yeah, it
So
could be the wrong woman, period. She can not have kids and still be the wrong woman and destroy your brand.
that is absolutely true. But I think mostly with the kids situation is that the responsibility side, that I don't have kids and then those kids will become my responsibility, which
Hmm.
as a man, I don't have a problem with that, because if you accept the cow, you have to accept the calves. So with me, if I accept the mom, I would definitely accept the kids.
Yeah,
It's I think it's a valid concern on,
yeah,
responsibility wise. They want to make sure that the parents, the other parent, is involved. That way all the responsibility don't lay on me.
yeah. Um, I want to ask, what were your sister's opinions? Because Jeffrey made a statement that she was the woman that she was every a woman that every man would want to be with. That was an interesting statement. And then Cynthia immediately started, when asked why she would be a good fit for you, she immediately like went into like, I have 2 masters, I have 2 masters, I have this, I have
Yeah,
that. And I
yeah,
was like, both of them gave answers that I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
What did your sisters think on those responses to being him what every man wants? And that was a little bit much.
I think my sister thought that it was an overconfident statement,
Yeah.
that Jeffrey made. Jeffrey is super confident, and she has all reasons to be. I mean, she has 3 kids and she look amazing and she's taking care of them. So that
Well,
I
do you
think.
agree with her statement?
Um, I don't think it was the right answer for the question,
Okay.
but I think it was a defensive answer, which, if I was in her position, I would understand why she would say that, but it wasn't the right answer for
Yeah.
that question. As far as Cynthia, Cynthia came correct. She basically understood the nature of the question and she answered it, appropriately. She gave
Right.
her own reasons. She put her credential, and Cynthia knew exactly how to answer the question, because I think Cynthia know that my sister is protecting me,
Yeah.
as far as my accomplishment and everything. So she came and said, "Listen, man, I'm not relying on any man. I can hold my own.
Right.
I'm qualified." So I think that answer did it pretty well for my sister and my niece. They
Yeah.
felt like she wouldn't have been a responsibility or a liability, as she said.
Right. She was bringing something else to the table besides just being very pretty
Yeah,
and
and
desirable.
that's a big topic now. The bringing to the table. Steve Harvey is doing saying it. I'm like, ah,
But so let me ask you, Andre, as a man, what would you want for what makes a woman a good catch for you? Because I think there is this discussion about what makes a woman wife material or what makes a woman desirable beyond sex. Because obviously, most of the women on there were beautiful, and sexual desire is usually connected to physical beauty, right? Or
right.
just maybe a sexual vibe, whatever. But I'm saying outside of just sexual, what is it that you're looking for that would make a woman a great helpmate or a compatible partner for you besides just the physical?
Sure. So, life is about companionship. Everyone wants that mate that will be that compatible companion for you, that will fulfill a lot of your, or fill a lot of the empty gaps in your
Yes.
life. So, of course, whatever those gaps are, of course, that will be an ideal woman. but mostly for me, what's important is a woman that can, I have a purpose in life, all right? A woman that can work with me on that purpose and fulfilling that purpose. So if I can find a woman that can, that is in alignment with my purpose and that will always be there to support my purpose and to be there for me and to basically work as a team, someone who I can admire, and also just love, because at the end of the day, in a relationship, for me, love is important because, as a man of God, I understand that love is the center of everything. So, I'll definitely, I like a woman that's, feminine, a woman who can, share those emotions with me and just fill the gaps and the voids in my life. But mostly a woman that can, work with me on, on the things that are important for me, as far as purpose.
I'm gonna go back to. I want to talk more about that, obviously, because that was a big thing with you and Jeffrey, and that's what the comments are about. But I want to ask you, because you mentioned purpose, and we're talking a lot about your brand, and we know that, again, that scene where you talked about, how Forbes magazine had celebrated you. Can you share with us a little bit about what you do and what your business is? So that would help us kind of understand a little bit more, maybe what purpose you're walking in right now.
Absolutely. So I'm an entrepreneur. I own several companies. Two of the main companies I own. One company specializes in ATM machines, so it's on the financial side. My company manages and operates over 3,000 ATM machines nationwide, and these are privately held ATM. These are ATM owned by my company, and we service them. We also work with different banks such as Chase. We have a contract with Chase. So that's one of the companies that I have that has been pretty successful. That's one of my, the mecca of my business.
Okay.
Um, I was featured in Forbes for a startup that I had just about five and a half years ago.
Hmm.
I created a startup company, which is the first vending machine, the first cannabis
Hmm.
vending machine, which is and it's nationwide right now, and it's also in a lot of the strip clubs as well, like basically all the strip clubs in Florida, in South Florida,
Okay.
not for cannabis. So because Florida is not deregulated yet and it's not green for recreational,
Hmm.
we don't sell cannabis out of the machine. We sell CBD and non-recreational items such as vape products and things of that nature. So
Okay.
I was featured in Forbes for my, my innovative concept of vending machine, first ever retail vending machine for
I
CBD.
looked that up because I would meant the mention of Forbes a couple of times. I looked that up, so I saw the cannabis, which is actually a great idea. Very very, I guess, part of the future, because everything is going to be very different the way people consume things. So, gotcha. Okay, I just want to make sure that our audience knew that, so they could see, what, where you're at. So, with entrepreneurs, especially with entrepreneurs that are like that, you basically are looking for a partner that would be able to support you as an entrepreneur, not support your dreams, and be, there for you with those type of things. Correct?
Yes and no. Before I answer that question, also, last but not least, I'm the owner of YouTube TV
Hmm.
Network.com,
Hmm.
which is basically in competition with YouTube TV. So
Okay.
if you look that up, you'll find out a little bit more about that.
Okay.
But I just didn't want to forget that.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah, and I didn't know what that was. I saw that on your profile, and I was not sure what that was. Okay.
yes. So as far as having someone, a companion, or a person, a special person in my life to fulfill you know with the things that matters to me, it wouldn't be so much about them helping me to fulfill my purpose or being there for that, because my purpose is more than just the things that I do in life or my way of living.
Hmm.
My purpose is on a greater level. My purpose is about people. My real purpose is not yet disclosed, but it's on a level where it has to do with people, and it has to do with the future, and it has to do with kids. So for me, kids are the future,
Hmm.
and I definitely believe that the society that we're currently in right now is actually not headed for in a good place. So I would like to change that in a positive way. I'd like to educate youths and how they can be successful in their own unique way.
Hmm.
Also educate them on the importance of of budgeting and finance and things that they need to equip themselves with in order to be the best version of themselves.
Yeah.
So that is my purpose, and if I can have someone who can share that with me, it will just make my life a lot easier. And of course, I'm a man of God, so I want to honor God, and I believe that's a part of honoring God.
Okay. I like that. And so let me ask you before just so we get this clear. So you are open to being a stepfather and being with a woman. If it was the right woman in the right situation, you have no problem because you love children, obviously. You have no problem being a stepfather or stepping in and being with a woman that does have children, being like a mentor or I guess because I don't necessarily like stepfather is one thing, but I don't necessarily think that fits every situation. Sometimes their children need another person to look up to, another role model, another friend, or something like
Mhm.
that. So you're open to being with someone that has children if the situation was right.
Yeah, absolutely, Crystal. Like it's always been, that way. And as I say, at my age, I'm 40 right now, so
Okay.
I'm not going to be unrealistic. And you just think that the woman, if I meet a woman, that's in my age bracket, that they're not going to have kids, there's a good likelihood that they already have kids.
Hmm.
So I'm completely realistic with that.
Do you usually date women that are your age, or do you date women that are younger or older? Where's your sweet spot?
Yeah, good question. You're asking a lot of good questions. Well, I tell you, it's a good one. um, so it's a mixture, Crystal. Like, I've for most of my more serious relationships has been women closer to my age. Uh,
Okay.
I've also been in long-term relationships as well with women younger than me.
Hmm.
My last relationship that I had, my last real relationship, was with a woman that was a lot younger than me. So there are a lot of different variation, in age. So yeah,
But you're open.
acceptance,
Okay. All
exception.
right. If you guys are just joining, we're talking to Dre. We've got very, very high demanded Dre is with us hanging out on a Sunday night.
Let's go, baby.
Make sure that you guys are following him so you can learn more about his company, YouTubeTVNetwork.com. But we're talking about Ready to Love. So that's what we're here for. And we're getting ready to get down to the good stuff because there were a lot of questions. I'm going to tell you right now, I've talked to several of your other castmates, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I don't believe, I think everybody has a right to their opinion, and none of us are perfect, right? However, the statement that Jeffrey made on the show that Black men leave their children was really disappointing to hear. Not because that may not be her experience, but because we are working very diligently as a community to change the narrative. And there's so many men that are doing amazing jobs taking care of their children. But I do want to ask you, there were just issues the entire season with Jeffrey not wanting to share. She did not bring any exes on the show. Um, you obviously mentioned that was an issue for you with her not having a relationship with her children's fathers. So I want to ask you, when did you first kind of see that as a red flag? Were you at all worried when everybody else had exes on the show and Jeffrey had no one on the show? Because we were all thinking as viewers, like, okay, maybe you don't want to bring your children's father. Maybe you have two children's father. Maybe but is there no boyfriend? Is there nobody at all that you can bring to the show? That seemed very odd to me. And I thought it was also kind of unfair.
Yeah, that was definitely a concern for me from the beginning. When that opportunity came up to meet the exes, and and she didn't have one or she didn't provide one. And for me, I'm not going to be the person to cast judgment. So I didn't really know what the reasons was. Whatever reason she gave me, I said okay. I said, okay, that's fine. I think it was more about Blue and Mark Anthony because at that point, for some reason, I wasn't really involved in that process with the ex. It was weird. So I
Mhm.
didn't get an opportunity to, or even, have a say on, hey, are you gonna bring your ex, whatever. But I did find out that she didn't bring her ex
Yeah.
for us to meet, and that was, I would say, one of the first time when I actually had like a little question mark, like, okay, but it wasn't major for me at that point. It was a major yet.
What did she say to you on why that wasn't she didn't have anyone to bring to the show?
I never really questioned her about it. Like the thing about me is when I ask questions, they're gonna be specific and they're gonna be, questions that I really need answer for.
Okay.
I don't think I needed an answer for that. I didn't think I needed her to give me a reason why she couldn't provide an X. But in the back of my head, I'm like, okay. Because at the end of the day, I figured I would find out what I need to find out from her, with or without her ex. So
Mhm.
it didn't really matter to me as much, but it did put a little question mark in my head.
Okay. So, did you guys discuss past relationships?
Yeah, we discussed past relationship. We also I also discussed it on the show as well. But yes, I asked her quite a bit of questions about her relationships. She didn't really ask me much about mine. I kind of just volunteered, and tell her about my relationships. And it was very, it was, I was very open about it because I was telling everyone about my last relationship, that I was in a relationship with a much younger woman. I don't know if I was flattered by that, but I actually was very open about it. So yeah, she did know about my last relationship. We didn't go too far back
Mhm.
for me as far as the last two or three relationship. I think we just mentioned a lot about the last one.
The last one. I guess I wondered, I asked that question because I say this, and I say this especially to women because I'm a woman. I know what it feels like to date men. I don't know what it feels like to date women. But when I meet a man, if he only tells me negative things about his exes and he doesn't take any accountability for anything he did wrong, I am automatically on alert. If
Red flag.
every girl was crazy, no, bro. Nah, sir. No, no, no,
Yeah.
sir. Like to me, that's a huge red flag. So and I've had that happen where you meet a guy and it's like, oh, because I will tell you as a woman, I have a ex husband, and although we got divorced, and I might not have deserved some of the things that happened, I was not perfect, and I learned from that relationship. And every relationship I've been in, I've learned something that I could do better. So when someone can't tell me anything that they did wrong, and everyone else is always wrong,
Yeah. 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 No
ding
accountability. Yeah.
ding. So, and I that goes both ways. So I'm asking you, um, do you feel like in your conversations with Jeffrey, there was a collective accountability on things that she could do better and those or lessons that she learned in the relationship and vice versa?
Hmm. Good question. I'm telling you, you're asking a really good question. Wow. Honestly, I never thought about that until now. So you have me, my brain is actually turning right now. So just looking back at our conversations that we've had, um, I always like to say less because less is more in a lot of situations. I don't go out there bashing people or talking about
Right,
them in a negative light.
right.
But yeah, I guess that's something I never really thought about, the accountability factor, as far as why, when I ask her questions, and just to see, who the blame was on constantly. It might have been a case where it was true, but I couldn't verify that. And of course, as a man, you're going to have your own thoughts about the situation, or assess it in your own way. So um, I think to a certain extent, I think people are always going to be on their own side and defending their own truth. And I think she defended her own truth pretty well. And I hope I was able to answer your questions as well as I could.
Well, I mean, it's your answer. You have to say there's no right or wrong answer. So at the reunion, some people were surprised to see that you and Jeffrey, because you guys did have a very passionate, um, pick each other. Like you guys were really excited about picking each
Yeah.
other. To see that you guys had not, it basically had fallen off, and Jeffrey was very clear about the fact that you did not reach out to her, and it did not feel genuine. And so I just want to give you a chance to share with us why that was. Was it really because of her not having her children not having a relationship with their father, and that bothers you? And if so, why did you guys not talk about that during the season?
No, actually, it was not that way. And of course, I'm going to say how it went for me. And I'm speaking my truth right now. I'm speaking the truth as it relates to me. So, you know, I think in the season, my process was a little different from everybody else's because I left like during the like 2/3 of the way.
Right.
So when I left, there were a lot of catching up to do. So when I got back, I wasn't really focused on asking those questions like, hey, so tell me about your father. I did eventually ask all those questions because that was important to me, because I know I was going to be, if we're supposed to get in a relationship, it would involve the kids, and I would like to know that I'm not going to be the sole person who's going to be responsible for taking care of the kids, especially if a father isn't alive. So I think it was, for me, it was a little bit of a catch up. I didn't get a chance to really ask her that. And the questions that I really wanted to ask, I don't think it would have been fair to ask her on set, because I asked, as I said, I asked really tough questions. These are questions because I'm interested. Um, and I actually played along with the rule as much as I could, as far as just having, very few conversations outside of the process, because we're on a show. So we want to make sure when we meet each other, the conversation are interesting. We're excited about seeing each other. So I didn't really have a lot of conversation off air. It's really about dating in the process, but we did talk about other stuff. And I did mention to her that there pressing questions that I had for her, and to let her know that for me personally, my process starts after this process ends. Because that's for me, that's where it really starts, the real life. So that's where I'm going to start asking the tough questions. So I actually left that until that particular time, because for me, it was about timing, the right timing to ask the right questions. And, I didn't want to ask those questions until the process was over. And, the answers I got didn't really work in my favor. Or in her.
So let me ask you this though, Dre. What was your expectation when you presented her with the flowers? She was excited, and you guys walked off into the sunset. What were your intentions at that point? And then what happened that made that no longer happens? Where you guys come back at the reunion, and and Jeffrey's feelings are hurt, and she feels blindsided and ghosted.
So as I said, that the conversations me and Jeffrey had was that the process for me really starts after the show ends, meaning this is real life. This is not show anymore. You're gonna have to open up your book to me. You're gonna have to do all of that. So immediately after the show ended, we went on a date, like a real date. And
Okay.
that's where it started for me. That's where it went down to the nitty gritty. And we met in Fort Lauderdale. We had a pretty long date. We spoke a lot of stuff. We had a beautiful meal. Presentation was great. And I said, hey, let's get down to it. I have these questions I've been holding for a while. And for me, my expectation was, I didn't think I was going to get these answers that I did receive. And that's why we walked off in the sunset, and we exchanged, we accepted each other, because I thought everything was going to work in our favor. But at this dinner, I asked a lot of questions, which I received a lot of answers that didn't really add up, and the answers that I was getting, it didn't really make sense, and I had to put sense together. So I had to ask a lot of questions. The answers weren't voluntary. You know what I mean? It's like I had to dig in, dig in, dig in. Like, hey, so until I got answers, and the answers that I didn't get, I had to put it together to formulate my own answers. And with that being said, it wasn't looking good at all. And I wouldn't want to share those details, and I never shared those details
Right.
on the show either. That's
I right. I get that. I guess was the biggest issue surrounding her past relationships with her children's fathers.
one of the
That's what
biggest.
was mentioned on the reunion.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll give you something. One of the biggest issues was the relationship um, the kids had, not her, but the kids had with their father,
Okay.
which was none. And for me coming into relation or potential relationship, that's going to assume I'm going to have to assume all the responsibility and all the liability, as my sister will call it, for these kids because the kids' fathers are not in their life. Not that I don't
Okay.
want
So
to be,
gotcha.
but it's not my kids, so I don't want to take 100% responsibility. And if I'm deciding to be with you, I'm gonna have to decide to be with you and your kids.
Yeah.
And if that's gonna make it harder for me, or it's gonna make me uncomfortable, I'd rather not want to have anything to do with it. As much as I like you, I need to be able to like the entire situation. And I
Mhm.
wasn't liking it because not only because the fathers weren't in their lives, because of why the fathers weren't in their lives.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the detail I will not
Yeah.
disclose.
No. 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 And that's not our business. That's because those are children, and that's a whole nother thing. Um, I guess I want to ask you when you watched the show, right? And you saw the edit, and you thought about how things happen, and you know where you guys are now. Do you feel like you really got to know the real Jeffrey? Do you feel like you really got to know the real Cynthia? What situation do you feel like there was a more authentic bond? Because I know you mentioned that we know both of them are beautiful women. That can sometimes get our vision a bit blurry. And then I also feel like Jeffrey has all the men that I've interviewed have said Jeffrey has this femininity that
Yeah.
is very seductive, right? So she knows how to speak to men in a way that makes them want to protect her, which a lot of women can relate, can need to I guess learn from. But
That was, yeah.
yeah, so talk to us about, do you feel like you got to know the real woman in either of these women, and if so, who, and if not, why?
Um, I believe that I got to know both of them on the levels that was enough for me to make a decision as to if I want to, proceed or not. Um, and As I mentioned before, these are two wonderful women in their own ways. They're very unique in their own ways. As far as you say, Jeffrey just has this charisma to her and this way, this mannerism, and this nature of her being herself, which is very conducive for men. Men like to be in that kind of situation where you want to be with a woman.
Is it
So
but a lot of people are asking, is it the baby voice? Do you guys like that? It's okay, because I think men do kind of like.
the baby voice has a lot to do with it, but it's just the mannerism. You know what I mean? The feminine mannerism. Where she would give this really delicate kind of giggle
Under
or
stress.
response, and it's just everything to it is just that she embodies everything that a woman should embody. She's like
Okay.
the epitome of a perfect woman that a man will want, and that's what
Well, that's what she said with you and your sisters at the table. So you do agree with her.
I and that's on a base level. That's
Okay.
on level one. There are different levels you have to get to
So
know.
we're
So
talking about physicality.
absolutely, absolutely. Jeffrey is a really good looking woman. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. So yes, and she has, as I said, she has all the reasons to be confident, but sometimes confidence can come off as arrogance. And I think that's how my sister received it, and that wasn't the best way to start it off, especially if you're trying to get some form of approval, as much as they say they don't need approval, this process is about getting approval. I felt like I needed to get some form of approval from Cynthia's family, or not her ex, but her family. So yeah. And as far as Cynthia, I was able to understand a lot about Cynthia
Mhm.
that I think a lot of the guys didn't even get the opportunity to, because Cynthia is a strong woman, and she doesn't disclose, she doesn't expose herself to everyone.
Mhm.
So I felt like she gave me a fair shot getting to know her, but time was against me, time wasn't on my side, and that was the big thing, because when I left and I came back, she was already in cahoots with Anthony, because she already bonded with him a lot more,
Mhm.
while I was away. So that didn't work in my favor, and I felt like I was just fighting the losing battle. So at that point, after looking at both, even though I had interest in both women, I had to make a decision that for me that would make more sense.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a really hard question, Andre, because I have a book titled "Dear Alpha Female, It's Not Him, It's You," and
You
my
still want my answer?
I do want your
You
answer,
saw, you saw you saw the clip, right?
but I'm asking because I think you see you have two different examples, and I'm not speaking about specifically Jeffrey and Cynthia. I think they're both beautiful women in their own right. But you have Jeffrey who plays into the submissive, very feminine, right? And then we have Cynthia who has been characterized as strong so
Yeah.
many times, right? She dug in with that. I have 4 degrees. I have my own business. I'm a work. That's what my definition of the alpha female is: a career-driven woman a woman who does not rely on a man to make her way, right? And then we have the woman that's the Jeffrey example that is much more. Oh, I need your help. I'm feed me baby bites. That is, and I'm not, and again, that's not, I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that what we as women need to know, and the majority of the people that watch this channel are women. Shouts out to the men that hold me down. I love you guys for watching. I love when a man watches the show, but the majority of these 600 people watching tonight are women. I want to hear from you. What speaks to your manhood? Because I feel like every man who has come on here has said that that was something that Jeffrey did that was attractive, right? Most of the men have called Cynthia strong as a compliment, but I don't know that that strength that we constantly hear some black women being referred to allows it speaks to a man's manhood, right? So I just want to ask you from your perspective, because you kind of got caught up in the in the one, right?
Yeah.
And your sisters were more supportive of the other. So I want to ask you from your perspective, what is it about that femininity that pulls you in and allows you to really feel a sense of confidence and want to protect there? Talk to us about that so we as women understand. And yes, you guys, please like this because Dre is getting ready to drop some gems on us. Okay.
Right. So, so as you know, we live in a feminist society. I much love to all my women. I love all my sisters. I love every ethnicity, of women. I love,
We believe that.
and I have due respect for all of them. But I feel like in this society, it's like a fight, between a feminist society and alpha society. It's like a fight. I guess a little bit of it has to do with the past of how women were treated in the past, and the opportunity right now that's given, and women have the floor to do everything that a man can do and to be more independent. So it just gives them, it validates them a lot more. For a man like me, I can't say for anyone else, but a man like me who is, was successful, who has a career, who, has done a lot of things in life, and have accomplished a lot in life as far as the things that I would like. At this point, searching for a woman Me personally, I don't want not that I don't want, but I would prefer a woman that can compliment me,
Mhm.
but instead of a woman that will be in competition with me. Because as much as you say it, it's going to be some form of competition when we start to have these feminist conversations about independence and what you have, and there's going to be some form of insecurity, and as a man, I'm a manly man. Like, I'm a man that believes in taking care, of the house. I'm the head of the house, not in a dictatorship manner, but as far as a provider,
Mhm.
right? So I believe in playing my role.
Mhm.
I want to be playing my role as a man, doing the manly things. Even simple things as if something breaks in the house, give me the opportunity to repair it first. What I
Yes.
mean? Instead of going and start doing it for me, that's my job. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, that's all I can say as far as I want to be able to play my role in the relationship, and I
Yeah.
want the woman to be able to play her role. So that's the kind of woman I'm looking for. A woman that can appreciate the roles,
Mhm.
respect the role, and allow me to be me as a man.
I like that. I like what you said about complimenting and not being in competition. I think
Yes.
that's huge. Do you have, if you could do all this over again, would you make the same choice?
Wow. I was gonna ask you a redundant question, but if I could do this all over again, would I make the same choice? I think I would. Time was my biggest problem, so I would definitely ask for more time. And with more time, I would definitely be able to make the right choice.
That's a good answer, Dre. That's
I know how to answer these questions.
do you have you talked to Jeffrey since the reunion?
Oh yeah, yeah. Me and Jeff were cool. I mean, I don't think she really, we're cool. Like, as far as conversation wise, we're still friends. We still follow each other and stuff like that. Still like each other's photos. We're respectable of each other.
Mhm.
But no, we don't have an issue. I guess sometimes these kind of conversation could be sensitive, and that's why I'm very careful as to how I convey what I say, because my intention is not to hurt anyone,
Yeah.
and my intention is not to be bashful. But I definitely want to be able to speak my piece, because I don't want to seem like I have a representative on the show. I want people to be able to know me and
Yeah.
to understand why things happen and how it happened and the reasons for it. And that's why I want to be as articulate as I can. But sometimes that can be offensive. So I'm very careful.
No,
As
I sense that, and I understand because we're in a very sensitive culture right now, right?
Very sensitive.
So I do understand that, but I also understand you. I appreciate you being honest. There was an issue with Jeffrey and Blake, and I don't know if you even know this, but questions have come in asking if you knew that Blake really did try to come in and snuggle with Jeffrey. Do you know if that was true? Because that was their issue was one that was really uncomfortable early on. It appeared that they also fixed it because at the end we don't see any, uncomfortability there. However, I did interview Blake. Blake gave me a great interview, and he was still very adamant that he did not say any of the things that Jeffrey said that he said, and that he was not. He still was. He stuck to his story, and he didn't say anything negative about any of the women, but you could tell that he did not like the
Yeah,
representation that Jeffrey
of
had of him in a few of those scenes.
course. So I don't know the details of how it transpired between Jeffrey and Blake, but I know there were, a few cases where there were a lot of dilemma, and just things that they're both disputing amongst each other, and I don't think anyone was able to prove facts between what was said between both of them.
Okay.
I don't, I can't even decipher between both of them to say which one I believe more. I would just say that they both have have had disagreements on their level, which it's hard to say because for someone to speak with such confidence, you know what I mean, like Jeffrey to speak with such confidence about the accusations against Blake, and for Blake to speak with such confidence defending
Confidence,
himself,
right?
it's like, man, this is wow, like
Somebody is a whole liar. I don't know who
somebody's
it
lying.
is. Somebody is a whole liar because you're right. Both of them are very confident, and
Yeah,
there is no possibility because with some situations you can say, okay, there might
exactly.
have been a
What you mean.
miscommunication.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
somebody's straight up lying. Like,
And they're good at it, whoever it is,
right?
because they're
Whoever is
both
lying
sticking
is
to their
scary
guns.
AF because I don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so I don't know, and I will just say that when I came back, I found out that there was like, you know, a little discrepancy between Jeffrey and Blake, and Tommy was like, Dre, when I was so confident, hey, Tommy was like, Dre, you sure? And I was like, Tommy, you trying to tell me something out here? And I'm like, maybe I'm gonna have to think about that. But I still just focus on my decision, and
Yeah,
I guess I kind of found out what I need to find out in the end. That made sense for me.
yeah. What did you learn during this process, Dre? Not just during the process dating, but also watching yourself back on television. What lessons will Dre take with him to make himself better?
Damn, I'll say I'm fine.
You are not, that's a red flag, Dre.
I'm just, that's my ego talking right there, all right, guys. As it usually does, you know what I'm saying? That's me, you know what I mean? All right. Hey, listen, you guys can hate as much as you want, all y'all talking about my twirl and whatever, but I still got love for everybody, all right?
No, that people say what they say. That's not. We don't. I'm not
Mhm.
asking about that. I'm just saying, what will you do differently, if anything, with women, with dating, with relationships? Did you learn anything about that? We're not talking about style
No,
or
no, I was just being sarcastic. I was just being
yeah,
sarcastic.
yeah.
So seriously, because I have two sides of me. I have the sarcastic side and I have the serious side. So this is the serious.
Hmm.
Um, I've learned that people are all unique. Everyone is different in their own ways, and I've learned to not be so quick on making decisions, and you know, going slow is going fast, meaning that the more time you take to really understand someone, it's better for you. It accelerates things more for you. You can take a month to find something out, but once you find out, then you can go a lot faster.
I
So
like that.
that's what I mean. So I've learned to just not take everything for face value. I've learned that everyone is going to speak highly of themselves. So it's just like lessons you learn in life. But I guess we keep making the same mistakes. And when you meet someone, you give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
So I just learned how to take things for what they are. Stop giving people benefit of the doubt and just take them for the face value. What they bring to you is what you
Yeah.
receive.
Yeah.
And there's so many other things I learned, but those are just few things that I learned that will stick with me for the rest of my life.
I like that. Y'all, I'm gonna ask him this one last question, y'all. This chat is off the chain. Did you have to pull Blake out of Jeffrey's room or nah?
No, I didn't even see. I didn't even see. I for the most part. So while we were on that getaway,
Yeah.
that's what you're referring to, right?
Hmm.
Okay. While we were on that getaway, we were all like everywhere except in the room, like
Yeah.
unless it's like in at night. And I don't recall seeing Blake in her room because I wasn't watching for that. I was just
Yeah.
doing me. So no, I never had to pull Blake out of her room or anything like that. So no,
No. Okay.
the answer is no for me.
Anybody that who are you still cool with? Would you consider dating any of the other castmates that you might not have had a chance, that you might not have had a connection with, or might not have had the time? Or are you on and just figuring out something fresh start?
So at the moment, I am seeing someone.
You are. Is it someone from the cast, Andre?
No.
Okay. Whew,
No, no.
praise Don't pull a blue and bring somebody
Wait,
in.
what were you gonna say if I didn't say that? What
No,
was it?
I was just gonna say no, I wasn't. So it's not somebody from any Ready to Love cast.
No. No, just building curiosity. No, 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 no. That's not. Someone completely, completely different.
Someone
Yeah.
completely different. Okay, cool. Well, I hope that that you have fun and get what you want out of life. I agree. Marriage is something that people should take more seriously. So you should definitely wait. You guys, I was teasing Dre about catching the garter at the wedding, and he was like, "No, I'm not gonna do that. Don't do it until you're ready," because I do believe that we should take marriage seriously, and it is a beautiful thing. And when you're ready, you will be a much better husband, than you would be if you were not ready. I thank you for being honest tonight and candid and sharing as much as you could about
Yeah,
the
thank
situations. Anything that you want us to know about Dre? People are talking about your teeth being beautiful and you having great dimples and all this stuff is happening in the chats. I'm sure he appreciates all that, ladies. I'm sure he hears that on a regular
you.
basis. But
Thank you.
anything else you want us to know besides the fact that you have beautiful teeth and nice dimples?
Yeah. So, I think on the show, a lot of people saw a side of me where, you know, like likability factor is important. I don't see anyone who wouldn't like to be liked by everyone. I did learn a lot. Just listen to responses, and I'm totally open to learning from what people have to say. Not that everything matters, and I'm not a sponge. I'm not gonna, just sap up everything that I read.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen a lot of things, you know, about my arrogance. I'm not arrogant. Like if anyone that knows me knows that I'm not arrogant. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not arrogant at all. I'm very confident, and I have a lot of reasons to be confident. And I'm not confident in a way where it's condescending for others or I'm belittling anyone or anything like. I'm confident because I'm happy with the way I am. I'm happy with the way I feel. I'm like I like for others. Like I give this off, but sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming for others. So I just want everyone to know that I'm not an arrogant person. I'm actually very humble compared to how people in my status would be. I treat everyone the same. People who I've known for years are still my friends. And it's not everything you see is like that. You have to get to know the person. So that's all I would like everyone to know, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not an arrogant person. I'm a very confident person, as a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact.
Do you think that you can be superficial?
Um, I think everyone could be superficial. I think I could be. I have the ability to be superficial, but it's not in me. So the things you see is how I am really. As far as, of course, as I say, people will misconstrue arrogance for confidence.
Right.
Being superficial. I like nice things. You know what I mean? I like to dress particular way. I like to drive particular cars. I've worked hard enough for it. I can do that. And sometimes people will, kind of get it mixed up for being superficial, that I like this or that. Or no, it's just that we all deserve the best in life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
know anyone I can talk to and say, hey, if you had the ability to have X, Y, Z at your disclosure, wouldn't you be happy to?
I think everybody values different things. I think some people value material things and other people value other things. I'm around a lot of very wealthy people, and not all of them value showing everybody how wealthy they are. Some of them do, but some of them don't. It just depends on the person. But I don't think that that's the only way to show value. I know a lot of people that are multimillionaires that they drive a regular car. You know what I mean? And would
That's true.
not, just like if you guys watched Shannon Sharp interview with, no, it wasn't Shannon Sharp, it was Ocho Cinco maybe, and Ocho Cinco was like, I'm not flying private, like I'm not
Yeah,
into
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I thought it was dope because it's like you don't have to, but it depends on the person. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I am just saying that just because a person has it doesn't mean that and not everybody wants to show it. Some people like to spend their money other places. Um, there has been constant complaints about the men on the show not being on the same level professionally
Yeah.
as the women. What do you think about that? Because a lot of the women even have said it. Definitely the women in the comments are always saying the men and the women don't necessarily, but some of the women have said, man, the men professionally just don't really add up. What's your perspective on that? Knowing you don't have to speak names, but just
Yeah.
knowing everybody on the cast and what they do you think that there's equal people are equally yoked with the women and the men?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a ignorant statement because if they do get a chance or whoever it is, the woman may be a little bit more articulate about what they do,
Mhm,
or they may come off a lot more elegant by the way they dress. You
mhm.
know, I think there's a bad stigma on the guys on the cast, just from the previous cast as well. Just it's like a trickle down effect.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's quite a few professionals on the show. Like Anthony, he's a doctor.
Mhm.
He's a nurse practitioner. Tony, he's a tax professional for a large corporation. Um, Let's see, Demario, I don't know much about him. Blake, of course, is in a good position. Quite a few of the guys, have some, you know,
Yeah, have
form,
something, yeah.
you know,
That's
yeah,
fair.
they
That's
qualify
fair.
to an extent, So
Yeah.
I guess it's a matter of just knowing more about each individual. There's some guys on the show that are not as established as others,
Yeah.
but we all have a career,
Yeah.
and
And women too. There's some of the women aren't as established. I appreciate you holding the men down and saying, hold on, there's some men that got their stuff together on the show. Don't get it
you
twisted.
you got it.
Yeah. Well, and Andre, I appreciate you again for hanging out with us on a Sunday. We wish you much success and love, and hopefully you'll have an opportunity to come back and share with us updates. Good luck in your new relationship if that is where you're meant to be. I pray that you will be there and things will go well for you, and that this experience will all work in your favor, which we know it will.
Thank you so much, Crystal. I appreciate you, and thanks to the audience as well. And much love.
Much love. Thank you so much, Dre.
Bye.
All right. Thank you all for hanging out. It has been over 650 people in this chat. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. Please make sure you further support with a like and come back because we have Morgan on Tuesday. I am so excited about this interview. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Thank you guys so much. This interview with Andre was good. We still need Anthony in, and of course, we're going to reschedule that interview with Mercedes. And I think that's going to wrap up our Ready to Love Miami. We got to be ready to, hit the ground again when they head to another city. Also, make sure that you are checking out the recaps for Put a Ring on It. Kojo and I have partnered up on recaps for Put a Ring on It, and they are quite insightful. I love doing recaps with Kojo. He's like my favorite. And I think it gives a great perspective being a male and a female. We were doing them for own, but we are on our own. We are doing them rogue, so we can actually say what we really think, and we don't have to we don't have to take into consideration the fact that somebody may or may not like what we have to say. So make sure that you guys are checking those out either on this channel or on Kojo's channel. Make sure again you have liked and shared this interview because I think it was a great one for Andre to really share his feelings. Thank you guys so much. Hey, Lenice. Hey, Mawadi. Happy birthday again. Happy belated birthday. I hope you had an amazing time. Janika, Monique, again, thank all of you guys. I hope you are off to a beautiful week. And I will see you guys on Tuesday with Morgan right back here on From Crystal XO and Rolling Out. I love you all. Good night.